This 1904 de Dion is just one of the competitors in the first ever Manchester to Blackpool veteran car run. The date, April the 21st, 1963, and 89 starters assembled in Albert Square, Manchester, to compete in a rally organised by the Lancashire Automobile Club. It was decided that if such an event was to take place in the north, then a mere repetition of the Brighton run wasn't good enough. The veteran and vintage car clubs too wanted something more. So the event was not merely a parade of venerable machinery, it was a true rally, in its simplest form, but as such it was unique. Whereas the Brighton run caters only for classified veterans built before 1905, the Blackpool Rally accepts cars in three groups. Group 1 and 1A were the veterans up to 1904. Group 2, the Edwardian from 1905 to 1916, and Group 3, the vintage from 1917 to 1930, and the post-vintage thoroughbreds from 1931 to 1934. The oldest cars had to cover a 53-mile route at not more than 15 miles per hour, certain ones being set a rather lower speed. The Edwardians faced a 63-mile route at 20 miles an hour, and the rest 73 miles at 30 miles an hour. The 1904 De Dion, driven by Roy Bamford, had a full head of steam quite early in the proceedings, and thereafter plugged away steadily, flourishing its white plume for some 50 miles, with a catastrophe imminent all the way. Time controls made the event a true rally of the regularity run kind. This 1912 Model T Ford was entered by C.G. Skipper Limited and driven by D.K. John. It is reputed to have been found in a Scottish barn and completely renovated by the apprentices of the firm. It cruises, we are told, comfortably at 35 miles an hour, but above this speed a wobble is experienced. Spares are still available but rarely required, and the wooden spokes and detachable wheel rims are inspected regularly for woodworm. This magnificent 1909 Fabrique Nationale was originally the property of the Belgian royal family. Its large brass snake horn goes by the name of Horace and was used in the film School for Scoundrels. The car has attended many rallies, including the Dutch International in 1961, and in recent years has proved a very reliable rally car. It is original from new with no modifications. And of course, as one would expect with an event such as this, there were the usual hard luck stories from points along the route. David Martin, who had worked into the small hours of the morning to get a 1924 Trojan into good running order, threw 2 tires and failed to complete the journey. Ian Jennison had a good deal of trouble with the fuel supply of his 1924 Morris Cowley and was later reported to be hard at work changing the magneto. Maurice Weisberg stopped repeatedly for water in his 1928 Star, and this was a common complaint when the really hilly country was reached, one driver taking aboard 2 gallons at a go. The first cars arrived in Blackpool at the Norbreck Hydro Hotel early in the afternoon. Enthusiasts were everywhere, with cameras clicking the whole afternoon. For to the British people, nothing so endears a man as a streak of harmless eccentricity. Let him lavish time, money, and a passionate devotion on some pursuit, as odd as it is useless, and he can be sure not only of the company of some as pottily dedicated as himself, but also of the tolerant approbation of thousands. Never before have the car parks of the Norbreck been the scene of such feverish activity, as the drivers and passengers worked on their cars in preparation for further judging. Polythene covers were removed from the brass fittings, and windows and bodywork were polished with great efficiency. Thousands there were in Blackpool. Blackpool, a town accustomed to crowds, had to call in extra police to cope with the organising of the cavalcade. The event was one of the big attractions in Blackpool's Safer Motoring Week. Number 85, a car bearing the great name of Bentley. In fact, in 1930, this was an ex-team car, the car in which S.C. Davis and Clive Dunphy crashed at Le Mans. In 1930, the car averaged nearly 90 miles an hour for over 1,800 miles. At 3:30, the rallyists left the Norbreck Hydro for the South Pier and then drove back up the promenade to Ginn Square. On the middle walk of the promenade, the pitter-pat of atmospheric inlet valves, the swish of driving chains, and the thrash of exposed timing gears mingles with the voices of the enthusiasts as they park their cars for the Concorde d'Elegance. Cars were lined up in order of age and were judged in their groups for authenticity and condition. With an entry approaching the permitted limit, there can be no doubt that this inaugural run will found an annual event of unique distinction.